Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtacha Deshatarane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikayai Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namane Shri Krishna Lila Katane Sudaksham Audaurya Madhurya Gunaishcha Yuktam Varam Varenyam Purusham Mahantam Narayanam Tam Shirshanamami Tridandinam Bhakta Shiromanim Cha Shri Krishna Padabja Dritaika Hridi Chaitanya Lilamrita Sarasaram Narayanam Tam Satatam Bhavati Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Acharya Singha Rupane Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshavaiti Namane Ati Martya Charitraya Swasrita Nanchapalane Jiva Dukhe Sadartaya Sri Nama Prema Dayane Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Shivarshavanavi Devi Dayataya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhurya Ujjvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtai Dinatarane Rupanuga Virudapa Siddhanta Dvantaharane Namo Gaura Kisharaya Sakshad Vairagya Murtai Vipralambha Rasambodhe Padam Bujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gauda Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gauravir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannataya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Tanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhajanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauda Trise Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Prem Ananda Pradayane Kalau Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Nama Panchadhyatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Suruto Pangor Mama Mandamater Gati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Shrimad Ratnagar Singhasanasto Shrimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshtalabhi Sevyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambhi Vamshivata Tatakstitaha Karshanavenu Svanayar Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Brindai Tulsidebhyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We'll sing Gurvastakam at the end of the year, the last day of 2024. We start with Gurvastakam, we end our life with Gurvastakam. We can add that at the end. Samsara dava nalalita loka Tranaya karuna gana ganatvam Samsara dava nalalita loka Tranaya karuna gana ganatvam Praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Yana Gunarnavasya Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nritya Gita Varitramadhyana Manasura Sena Romancha Kampa Srutaranga Bhajo Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Shri Vigraha Radhana Nityanana Shringaratanaman Tiramarjanado Yuktasya Bhaktam Chaniyunjatopi Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Sri Charanaravinda Chaturvida Sri Bhagavat Prasado Sadana Triptam Hari Bhakta Sangha Kritaiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Bande Guru Sri Charana Ravinda Shri Radhika Mad Havayor Para Madhur Jalila Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana sadhana lolopasya bande guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Nikunjayuno Ratikelisidhyai Yayali Bijuktirapekshaniya Nikunjayuna Ratigelisidai Yayali Bijuktirapekshaniya Tatra didakshad ati vallabhasya Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Charati vallabhasya Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Sakshad Hari Tena Samasta Shastrai Ruktasthata Bhavyata Eva Sadabi Kintu Prapuya Priya Eva Tasya Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado Yasya prasada nagati gotopi Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado Yasya prasada nagati gotopi Dhayam stuvam stasya yashastri sandhyam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Bande Guru Sri Charanaravindam Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Guru Parampara, Guru Parampara, Parampara, Guru Parampara, Parampara, Guru Parampara, Parampara, Guru. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga. Jai Nitai Jaya Gaur, Jaya Nitai, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Gaur, Jaya Gaur. Jaya Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe. Hare Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe. Jai Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan. Jaya Radha Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha, Radhe. Gopinatha, Radha Gopinatha, Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Radhe, Jaya. Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Panchatattva ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Navadvip Dhama ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. So first of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Shila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And my Dandavat Pranams to all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And on this last day of the year 2024, we have the appearance day of Srila Lochan Das Thakur. That is his appearance day today. So Lochan Das Thakur, very great Vaishnava personality. What do you think about him? Huh? You think he's a great Vaishnava personality? Yes, if we hear about him, we will also completely agree. So therefore, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj comes to our assistance to understand the glories of Lochan Das Thakur. But we know about Lochan Das Thakur because Prabhupada used to say his name a lot when he would sing songs. Oh, this song is by Lochan Das Thakur. So Lochan Das Thakur is one of those great personalities like Narottam Das Thakur, who wrote many, many songs. Okay, so the glories of Srila Lochan Das Thakur, his early life, today is the appearance titi of Srila Lochan Das Thakur. He took his birth in Kogram, which is a subdivision of Katwa, of the Vardhaman district. So near the Ajay River, he took his birth. And he took his birth in a family of physicians, doctors. So being the only child to his parents, that's rare, only child, Kabalakara Das and Srimati Sadanandi, these are his parents, he received abundant affection. So Lochan Das Thakur was married at a very young age, but he was disinterested in material life. In those days, marriages would take place by the age of 5 to 7. However, the bride would come to reside with her in-laws only after a few years. Such an arrangement is incomprehensible in today's world. He would spend most of his time in Srikanda, the Sripat of his guru. Sri Narahari Sarkar is his guru. And Narahari Sarkar is Madhumati Saki in Vraj Leela. So he would spend most of his time in Srikanda, there at his guru's Sripat. And when it was time to bring the daughter-in-law home, the concerned parents, seeing Lochan Das Thakur's indifference towards family life, approached Narahari Sarkar, his guru, and they requested him to convince their only son to be a grihasta. Thus, his spiritual master ordered him, accept the grihasta ashram and do your bhajan. There is no loss in this. Following his order, Lochan Das Thakur proceeded to his in-law's place to bring his wife home. But he could not recall its exact location since he was very young when he had gotten married. So he asked a young girl passing by for directions, addressing her as Mataji. Later, upon arriving at his in-laws, he realized that in fact it was his wife who he had inquired from. And thenceforth he always treated his wife as his mother, because of once having mistakenly addressed her as Mataji. Such was his dridha pratigya. You know this word? Dridha pratigya. That means firm resolve. Very firm. Next section is titled Vaishnava Etiquette. So Lochan Das Thakur composed a book named Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Have you seen that book? Have you read that book? It's a very nice biography of Mahaprabhu. That's another biography of Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mangal, I have it up there on my bookshelf. I just brought it back from Vrindavan. So, around that same time, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he happened to author another book with the same title, Chaitanya Mangal. So to resolve this, the Vaishnava community renamed the latter's work, being bigger in volume, as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, while the former's composition remained as Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Now the Vaishnava etiquette of those times is very noteworthy. Although at the time there were 3 Vaishnavas authoring books on a similar theme, the life and precepts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they all acknowledged and they revered each other's contribution. So Lochan Das Thakur has addressed Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Mangala Charana in Chaitanya Mangal. So he said, I wholeheartedly glorify Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, who enchanted the world with the words of his Chaitanya Bhagavat. And then in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's the verse in the very beginning of the Adi 1, verse 180. Shesha Kande Chaitanyara Ananta Vilas, Vistariya Varnite Achen Vedavyas. The unlimited pastimes of Sri Chaitanya in the Antya Kanda will be described by Vyasadeva in the future. Now in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he said, Chaitanya Lilate Vyas Brindavana Das. Tar Kripa Vina Anye Na Hoy Prakash. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi, chapter 8, verse 82. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the authorized writer on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And without his mercy, therefore, one cannot describe these pastimes. Then, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya 2, he said, Chaitanya Mangale iha likiache stane stani satya kohen age vyas koriba varnane. That means in the Chaitanya Mangal, Vrindavan Das Thakur has stated in many places the factual truth that Vyasadeva has already described them previously. So even though Vrindavan Das Thakur is the Vyas of Chaitanya Lila, he proclaimed that in the future, Vyas would write more elaborately about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, whereas Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said that Vyas had already written elaborately about the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, but because his book was getting voluminous, he had left some remnants of Mahaprabhu's pastimes to write about. So just see that relationship between these three authors. This is how Vaishnava etiquette is to be maintained. Otherwise, one will be overcome with deceit and fall down. Now, the next section is called Nishta in one's Ishtadev. So, Srila Lochan Das Thakur's Nishta toward his Ishta was astonishing. Nityananda Prabhu was his Ashraya Vigraha, Lochan Das Thakur's. And Chaitanya Dev was his Vishaya Vigraha. Now, being intensely absorbed in Chaitanya Dev, Lochan Das Thakur did not speak much about Nityananda Prabhu in his Chaitanya Mangal. So Nityananda Prabhu is Prakash Vigraha. He's the first immediate manifestation of or expansion of Krishna. He's the first, Nityananda, Prakash Vigraha. Just as Krishna manifests himself through Balaram, so Chaitanya Dev manifests himself through Nityananda. So thus, first one needs to take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu. Now, one cannot glorify Sriman Mahaprabhu without glorifying Nityananda Prabhu. Both Vrindavan Das Thakur and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami have extensively glorified Nityananda Prabhu in their respective works, Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami neither mentioned nor glorified any of his family members. However, he glorified Nityananda Prabhu, by whose mercy he attained Sri Vrindavan Dham. Otherwise, he would have been guilty of being ungrateful towards Nityananda Prabhu. He didn't do it for his own prestige, but just to acknowledge Nityananda Prabhu's causeless mercy on him. So, in retrospect, now we come back to this point, Lochan Das Thakur felt remorse in his heart for not glorifying Nityananda Prabhu in his work, and he felt that he had committed an offense. So in this mood he lamented, "Oh, fie on me! I didn't glorify Nityananda Prabhu, the one who gives Radha Krishna Prem and Vraj Vas." So, Nitayer Karuna Habe Braje Radha Krishna Pabe Daro Nitayer Charana Dukani Se Sambandha Nahi Jar Britab Janma Gelotar Se Pashu Boro Durachar. So then in another place it is said, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tiner Smaran. Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tiner Smaran. Tiner Smaranane Hoy Vigna Vinasham. This means, this is the recommended sequence of offering respects. First, pay obeisances to Guru, then to Vaishnavas, then Bhagavan. All obstacles go away just by remembering them. So what are the obstacles? The obstacles are anything that checks one's progress in Hari Bhakti. It is called an obstacle. And that is why Lochan Das Thakur went on to extensively glorify Nityananda Prabhu through his many kirtans, like Nityananda Mahima Shochaka, Prarthana, Durlabh Sar, Jagannath Balabanataka, a poetic rendition of Ras Panchadhyaya, to name a few. Those kirtans stand testimony to his unprecedented nishta in Nityananda Prabhu. So some of his compositions are Nitai Guna Mani Amar, Nitai Guna Mani, Aniya Premera Vanya, Bashailo Avani, Akroda Paramananda, Nityananda Rai, Abhimana Shunya Nitai Nagare Bedai. He's just telling the first two lines of many of the songs written by Lochan Das Thakur. Parama Karuna Bahudvi Jananitai Gaura Chandra Sabhavatar Sara Shiromani Kevalai Ananda Kanda. Then in another kirtan, Nitai Mor Jivan Dhan, he said. We have that in our songbook. Jai Deshe Nitai Nai, Se Deshe Na Jabo, Nitai Vimukha Janar Mukha Na Heribo. I shall never visit any place where Nitai is absent, and I shall never look upon the face of one who is averse to him. Just see Lochan Das Thakur's Sayuta Nishta for his Guru Varga. So does anyone ordinarily speak like this, with so much resoluteness? But Lochan Das Thakur did. On one hand, Vaishnavas are causelessly merciful even to the Chandalas, and on the other, they are not even willing to see the face of anyone who is averse to Nityananda. This is simply nishta in Nityananda. And we can get such nishta only by hearing of their lives and precepts. He wrote an astonishing line in another song. Lochan bole mor nitai jeba nahi mane, anala bejai tar maja mukha kane. Recognize that at all? Lochan Das Thakur is declaring at the end of his song, he's saying, I shall scorch the face of one who has no regard for my nitai. So Lochan Das said, I will set ablaze anyone's face who doesn't glorify Nitai. Does any sadhu speak like this? Never. But this is just his way of expressing his nishta toward Nitai. I pray at the feet of Lochan Das today. I beg for his mercy. And this lecture includes Harikatha given on the same titi. So that is the glorification of Srila Lochan Das Thakur, and how much benefited we have become by hearing this on this auspicious day. Now we continue with our narration, or rather our reading of Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur and his introduction to his lecture of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to complete that now. What did he say? What has he said? He says that the narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam should be heard from the mouths of the Paramahansa Vaishnavas, the most precious jewels among liberated souls. Still, the Prakrita Sahajiyas, they hear from orators whose hearts are full of innumerable worthless attachments, anarthas, that they are dedicated to protecting their anarthas. Such orators are simply obsessed with the flavors of mundane literature, poetry, and syllables. So on the pretense of hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, on that pretense, the Prakrita Sahajiyas, they simply seek the meager gratification of their material senses, mistaking Rasa, the unpalatable flavors of the mundane realm, mistaking that to be actual rasa. Such imitators can never taste the pure, succulent, transcendental mellows of the Srimad Bhagavatam. By hearing the explanations of the Srimad Bhagavatam sung by a liberated Paramahansa, like Shukadev Goswami, a qualified listener like Parikshit Maharaj, who was fully convinced regarding the temporary nature of human life, they will at once become immersed in relishing the nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they shall remain there forever. And thereafter, such a qualified listener forgets all his prior lower interests that were unrelated to Krishna, and he becomes freed from worldly attachment. So now, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is telling us that there is a very great need for a precise written explanation of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, grounded in profound and thorough deliberation. Such explanation is indispensable. Indeed, such a composition arranged in congruence with the Rupanuga Gaudiya conception, the conception of Sri Chaitanya Dev's apostles, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami, that composition, arranged in congruence with the Rupanuga Gaudiya conception, elucidating the 10th canto's chapters, such as Rasa Panchadhyaya, Brahmara Gita, Gopi Gita, it must be set forth without fail. The world is in want of actual beauty, or rupa. The conceptions propounded by Sri Rupa, for currently only Ku-rupa abounds. That means misshapen conceptions that are opposed to his. In order to broadcast their cleverness and prematurely profess their own elevated status, the Sahajiyas, they recklessly amuse themselves by dallying with these lofty branches of the 10th canto. Abolishing their misguided interpretations is requisite. What requires to happen? That their misguided interpretation should be abolished, as is composing the actual commentaries on Brahmara Gita, Gopi Gita, and the rest. So now we come to this point where Srila Prabhupada is telling about his strategy. He says, until now, we have simply occupied ourselves in the process of negation, rejecting atat, that which is not. We have been rejecting that. So for 8 years, our periodical Gaudiya has extensively discussed such issues. What issues? Negating what is not true, what is not, which is atat, and does not truly exist. So, we've discussed this for the last 8 years in our periodical Gaudiya. The Sahajiyas can be greatly benefited by studying these articles. However, it is not possible to become advanced in Hari Bhajan. However, it is not possible to become advanced in Hari Bhajan. It is not possible to become advanced in Hari Bhajan if we limit the scope of our endeavors either to simply negating the atat or to performing even favorable action. Now he goes on with this point that he's making. It's not possible to become advanced in Hari Bhajan if we limit the scope of our endeavors either to simply negating atat or to performing favorable action. Now listen how he explains this. The Sahajiya Sampradaya, they assert, we will not abandon offenses to chanting the Lord's holy name. That's what they say. We will not abandon offenses to chanting the holy name. But what do we say in response to that? We do not chant the holy names with offenses as you do. Now the latter declaration indicates the pursuance of favorable action, right? Is it favorable to avoid offenses to the holy name? So he's saying that this is in pursuance of favorable action. But this alone will not give entrance to Hari Bhajan. Simply being committed to favorable action is not enough. Krishna Anushilanam is absolutely essential. Meaning, liberally cultivating with every fiber of one's existence the uninterrupted performance of pure spiritual service that is conscientiously devoted to the pleasure and the welfare of Krishna. Take the example of an epileptic. Do you know what an epileptic is? You know epilepsy? So you have the same word in Russian? Okay. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is saying, take the example of an epileptic. Okay, he's got this disease, epileptic. Despite his doing favorable activities to ensure his health, he is still subject to recurring seizures at any time. So in the same way, in the absence of such sturdy and uninterrupted service, favorable action alone will not prevent the pilgrim on the path of bhakti from periodically losing his healthy spiritual consciousness and falling down. Have you heard this comparison before? So, if a devotee falls down, that means he's getting an epileptic seizure of his anarthas coming back. Yes. Now, being aided by favorable action alone, just favorable action, he may suddenly stumble on any unfavorable elements appearing in his path, or he may get knocked off balance by consuming the poison of untrue conceptions, mistaking it for ambrosia. That's the problem. And that is where most devotees are situated, in that. Okay? Now, while the benefit of singly performing favorable actions that are related to bhakti, while that benefit is not lost even after unlimited lifetimes. But still, in this very lifetime, those actions will grant neither emancipation from the mortal sphere, nor the perfection of the soul, nor the ability to perform real Hari Bhajan. So the attainment of Krishna, will remain completely out of reach for one who does not become captivated by what? If someone does not become captivated by Krishna's graceful, beautiful form and qualities, then the attainment of Krishna will remain completely out of reach for one who does not become captivated by his graceful, beautiful form and qualities. But those who have developed real greed for rupa, graceful beauty, those who have developed real greed for rupa, graceful beauty, who are longing to serve graceful beauty, they alone gain intimacy with Krishna. The name Shri Rupa is what is understood by the word rupa, or graceful beauty. Only those who long to serve graceful beauty, only they know the meaning of Hari Bhajan. They completely depend on the guidance of Shri Rupa, and they place all their hopes in following him. The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are their sole object of adoration and service. And the only perfection for which they yearn is to remain at her lotus feet eternally. It is they who are truly searching for graceful beauty. The commentary on the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam must be fashioned for them. It is true that we do not approve of the fraudulent interpretations of Brahmara Gita, Gopi Gita propounded by the Sahajiyas. We do not approve of their fraudulent interpretations of the Brahmara Gita and the Gopi Gita, which the Sahajiyas propound. But then, we must also provide the real explanations in place of the condemned ones. That's what Gurudev did. That was his mission. Simply rejecting the adverse elements by declaring not this, this offers no real assistance. The positive element, it is this, that must be established. The positive element, it is this, that must be established. So simply rejecting adverse elements leaves one in a negative sphere. It does not bring one to the positive position. So that's all very clear, he made it. Now the impersonal aspect of the absolute. See, this is why we see in our life that many of our contemporaries who have embraced this path of the Krishna consciousness movement, they are very, some of them, they become very determined. That I will chant 16 rounds a day and follow the 4 regulated principles. And Prabhupada said, you go back to Godhead. Huh? Is that true? But what's the proper understanding of it? Just simply following 4 regulated principles. Huh?
Chanting has to go from the stage of offensive to...
Can you talk in the mic so they can hear it on the recording? The chanting must go from what?
From aparad to abas to shuddha. No.
Yeah. Yes. No one goes back to Godhead by chanting Namaparad. Did a Jamil chant Nam Aparad?
Did abas.
Huh? Yes. A lot of Namabas. Did he directly go back to Godhead when he was saved from the Yamadutas? What did he do? He went to Haridwar. And how long did he stay there? Very long time. Perfecting his bhajan. And only when that was perfected, then what happened? Vishnudutas descended in their Vaikuntha airplane and took him there. Huh? And that's an example of, that's one of the rare examples in the Srimad Bhagavatam of an actual ordinary conditioned soul. But by Nam, and it's told in the purports of the Acharyas that Krishna gave him some special mercy because in his early life he was born in a Brahmin family and so forth, but then he became degraded, he completely fell down. But Krishna gave him some special mercy at the end of his life. Even as an old man, he fathered another child. And Krishna inspired him to name his child Narayan. And so the Acharyas have explained that when he was simply calling his son by his name again and again and again and again, Narayan, come here, Narayan, eat now, Narayan, 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 what was taking place? Huh? Namabhas. And it was destroying all of his sinful life. It became like a snake, like a rope that is burned. You can't pick it up anymore. So, Krishna works in very wonderful ways. But what Prabhupada is telling us, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada is telling us here, we have to pay close attention to this, because it ain't possible to go to the spiritual world without worshiping, what did he call it? Beauty. Without worshiping the name, form, beautiful form, without becoming captivated, without developing attraction and taste. Not possible. So, for beginning level devotees, the process has been given as a nice, neat little package that anybody can apply in their life, wherever they are, whatever ashram they're in, whatever is their situation. If they do that, and they follow the 4 regulative principles, and they chant every day 16 rounds, and it should also be mentioned, they should try to associate with devotees. But what will happen to such a person? Even if they don't associate with devotees, but they're reading the Shastras, they're chanting like this, they'll make progress. They'll make progress. But what is the progress? As you pointed out, their chanting has to deepen. Their chanting has to develop into Shuddhanam, and that's no small order. Shuddhanam, what to speak of even Namabhas. But if someone stays in the process and associates with more advanced Vaishnavas than oneself, then gradually his conceptions will be upgraded and purified and so forth. And then, in this life or next life or any next future life, then he can apply these processes. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada is telling us that the impersonal aspect of the Absolute, which is without any comprehensible features, that impersonal aspect is designated by the word tat, which literally means that. Now, simply trying to realize tat by exhaustively negating all limited matter, that's insufficient. Just to negate, this is not tat. So leaving aside the dry investigation of tat, one must enter into the pastimes of saha, which literally means he. Okay? Om Tat Sat. He's not telling that, I'm just telling that. But saha is what? Is him. It's him. So, this word, leaving aside the dry investigation of tat, then one must enter into the pastimes of Sah, which literally means he. He, the absolute personality, the infinite reservoir, and the original perfection of all transcendent features. One must enter into his pastimes by sequentially realizing the true and absolute nature of his name, his form, his qualities, and unique glories of his intimate associates. One must enter into his pastimes by sequentially realizing the true and absolute nature of these name, form, qualities, and associates. Those who limit their vision to tat, and they simply engage in the process of negating the unfavorable, they are bound to make material phenomena their focus. They're bound. Then there are those who claim that their vision extends to Tat Sat, namely the absolute Tat, with transcendental existence Sat. But those who are factually situated in transcendence, They even perceive the material world, the cosmic manifestation of the Supreme Lord, as a reflection of the original immaculate source, which is the eternal and the incorruptible abode of the absolute divinity. So thus they see Saha, the non-dual entity, as he who manifests all features in full and who possesses sublime names, forms, qualities, intimate associates, and pastimes. Their vision is Raso Vai Saha. Certainly, he is the divine nectar rasa. That term, Raso Vai Saha, means him. He is rasa. Certainly, he is the divine nectar rasa. So, he is the absolute form of all sublime nectarian mellows in their entirety. So Rupa Goswami explains in his very first shloka in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu with the words Akil Rasamrita Murti. He's quoting this verse here. Akil Rasamrita Murti Prashrim Mara Ruchi Rudha Taraka Pali Kalita Shyama Lalito Radha Prayan Vidhur Jayati. Here it is telling that this Krishna, Sri Krishna Chandra, Vidhur Jayati, may he be supremely glorious. He is the condensed form of all eternal, supramundane rasas. Indeed, he has not neglected the full expression of any divine sentiment. He has not neglected the full expression of any divine sentiment. In other words, all rasa, all. Just see how he subjugates the extremely submissive gopi who is named Taraka. He subjugates her. And just as the vernal full moon outshines a tiny star, so that her own effulgence is totally engulfed by his brilliance. Yes, that's how he subjugates the extremely submissive gopi Taraka. Then Pali, another gopi is mentioned here. And Pali, who is also controlled by him, is just like a constellation keeping the moon at her bosom. His rays overpower her as well. So what is the meaning of the word vernal? V-E-R-N-A-L. Vernal. It is saying that when the vernal full moon accepts the night sky. So it means, must be shining. Vernal. When the vernal full moon accepts the night sky as a playground, the atmosphere becomes ideal for love dalliance. In the same way, Sri Krishna makes Shyama, who is like the dark blue vault, and Lalita, who is love dalliance personified, Sri Krishna makes them his very own. Just as the full moon comes under the powerful influence of the Radha constellation in the spring season, he comes under the control of the prem of Srimati Radhika, who is the embodiment of Mahabhav, and who is the origin of all the Yuteshwaris. Srimati Radhika's love completely eclipses and defeats him. She is his everything, without which he is just the lonely moon. This is the translation of the first verse. What? Moon. Now the school of the selfishly motivated karmis and jnanis, they ask the question, why don't you manufacture salt? Why don't you work as weavers or plow the fields? Why don't you serve people suffering from cholera by becoming their sweepers? Or why don't you cremate the bodies of the deceased? Hoping to perfect their favored means of increasing sensual and mental pleasure, they somehow attempt to subjugate the devotees of Krishna for their purposes. Of course, their cleverness is insignificant compared to the brilliance of Sri Krishna's servants. So there is no possibility that they can ever oppress us. Shri Gaur Sundar, Shri Radha Govinda, and all their intimate associates, they are superlatively worthy masters. So as their loving servants, we have placed all of them on our shoulders in respectful subservience, and we will never allow anyone else a place there. Never. We will follow Sri Upadeshamrita. This is the end of this. We will follow Sri Upadeshamrita, the essential ambrosial commandments propounded by Srila Rupa Goswami. We will abandon what is unfavorable. We will accept the favorable, but we will never consider the practice of accepting what is favorable to be enough to maintain the progressive flow of our bhakti. We will not become degraded, losing our healthy spiritual consciousness, like the epileptic who, tortured by recurring seizures, violently falls to the ground unconscious. So filled with intense enthusiasm, we will actively cultivate the tendencies of our minds, of our bodies, and our words in the service of Krishna's name and Krishna's character, which is called Krishna Anushilanam. We will do that, filled with intense enthusiasm, actively cultivate the tendencies of our minds, bodies, and words in the service of Krishna's name and character, Krishna Anushilanam. What else will we do? Situate ourselves in Mathura and Braj. We will situate ourselves there. The fully transcendental facsimiles of Krishna's unmanifest eternal abodes. And we will sing the glorification of His holy name and His sublime nature. Thus, we will follow the clear path set forth by Srila Rupa Goswami. And then we will be able to engage in smarana. If we do that, then we can engage in smarana, the act of meditating on Krishna and thus remembering Him constantly. We will attain permanent residence on the bank of Radhakunda in the beautiful forest grove belonging to our most worshipful goddess. And remaining there forever, we will engage in service to the divine couple under the direction of our eternal guides, whose hearts are the permanent resting place of love for Krishna, Ashraya. Outwardly, we will never leave the shelter of Krishna's holy name, and internally, enveloped in spiritual time, the eternal eightfold divisions of the day Ashtakal, we will serve the most cherished beloved of King Vrishabhanu's daughter. That is, this achievement is the pinnacle of all our expectations. We have no aspiration besides this. Furthermore, we cannot conceive that any higher aspiration even exists for the greatly liberated souls than this. In truth, our divine guide, Sri Guru, who is the beloved servant of Krishna, and the holy name of Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which unfolds the pastimes of Krishna, Sri Radha Govinda themselves, and Sri Chaitanya, who is known as Sri Gaur Sundar, the combined form of Radha and Krishna, they are all non-different features of the absolute truth. What is that? Sri Guru, holy name of Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam, which unfolds Krishna's pastimes, Sri Radha Govinda themselves, and Sri Chaitanya, who is Gaur Sundar, combined form of Radha and Krishna. They are all non-different features of the absolute truth. We need not become like the fruitive workers and empiricists who try to fulfill all their separate interests by the worship of 5 deities, Panchopasana. No, we need not become like them. Their service is never meant for the pleasure of Krishna. Instead, we will render truly pleasing service to Sri Krishna in 5 ways. To his 5 non-different features. First, we will serve him in his aspect of his own beloved servant, our divine guide. Second, we will serve him as his holy name. His incarnations are as transcendental sound. Third, we will serve him as the Srimad Bhagavatam. Fourth, we will serve him as Radha Krishna. And fifth, we will serve him as Sri Gaur Sundar. And furthermore, we will worship Krishna with all 5 primary transcendental mellows, which are called Panchadhyaya, as a devotee, servant, friend, guardian, and lover. By becoming the devoted follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, by becoming Rupanuga, we will worship Krishna in the Paramur conception, Madhur Rasa, which completely contains all 5 rasas. This is the end. We will not be content simply by rejecting the unfavorable, nor will we expect to flourish in bhakti simply by accepting the favorable. Rather, we will always actively cultivate the tendency to arrange for Krishna's pleasure. Krishna Anushilanam. So Sri Chaitanya Dev, he appeared before us as the embodiment of infinite magnanimity, compassion, and kindness, Audarya Vigraha. For he freely bestowed upon us Unnata Ujjvala Rasa, the most elevated, brilliant conception of devotional service in Paramur love, which had not been revealed for millions of eons. How long is an eon? By immersing ourselves in the endless ocean of his magnanimity, we will become the rightful recipients of that same rare treasure. So following in the footsteps of Sri Swarup Damodar Prabhu, his most confidential companion, we will recite this verse that he recited, Swarup Damodar. This is how he's ending this whole, with this verse. So, following in the footsteps of Sri Swarup Damodar Prabhu, his most confidential companion, we will recite this verse. This is actually from Chaitanya Chandrodaya Nataka, and it's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 10, 119, when Swarup Damodar met Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas and now he came back to Puri, and now Swarup Damodar, who also had gone to take sannyas, and he used this verse to glorify Mahaprabhu. You've heard it before. It has necessity to study it more deeply. Helo dunita ke daya vishadaya pronmila damo daya. Shamyas chastra vivadaya rasadaya chitarpiton daya. Shashvad bhakti vinodaya samadaya madhurya maryadaya. Shri Chaitanya daya nidhe tavadaya bhuyad amandodaya. So this is a prayer to Mahaprabhu. And quoting the translation, he ends this article. He's stating, Helo Dunadakedaya, O Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, O ocean of compassion, may your auspicious mercy be awakened everywhere. It easily dispels all kinds of mundane lamentation, and it illuminates everything with purity. It thoroughly awakens supreme transcendental bliss, and it removes all confusion arising from disparities among scriptures. Your auspicious mercy releases a shower of all of the transcendental mellows, leaving one intoxicated. In other words, one becomes situated in the fully condensed bliss of separation, causing the heart to surge with divine madness. Your mercy perpetually stimulates bhakti's own delightful nature, so that by the influence of the original transcendental Cupid, profuse ecstatic transformations are aroused that plunder one's faculty of discrimination between right and wrong. The appearance of your mercy heralds the complete cessation of all of the conditioned soul's selfish desires, and at the same time it confers the last limit of divine sweetness. Your boundless mercy recklessly distributes the most valuable benediction without any restriction. Please awaken your causeless mercy within my heart, O Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ocean of compassion. This is translated from Srila Prabhupada Harikatamritam, published by Sri Chaitanya Mat. Gaur Premanande. Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. 10th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bo. So, we have completed the introduction of Srila Gurudev on this book, Ras Panchadhyaya. We have also now completed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's full lecture that he gave on the 10th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein he has stated very specifically that there must be a proper commentary on the 10th canto put forward, illuminating what? Brahmara Geet, Gopi Geet, and so forth. So, what an amazing lecture. This is his lecture. They had a system where there were 3 or 4 of them, and they would take the beginning of each sentence, one of them, then the middle of the sentence, and the end of the sentence, and they would write it down in a kind of shorthand. Do you know that's how they did it? There were no tape recorders. That's how they did it. One of them was Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, and the other 2, I don't know exactly who. Maybe, could be. Or that other was Sundarananda Vidya Vinod. But they were the ones that recorded the lectures of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So how fortunate we are that these were written down, and for all future posterity, for the next 427,000 years of the remainder of this Kali Yuga, people will be able to directly hear his words, his teachings. Not only that, we have his direct English teachings as well. When he met, that was also taken down in shorthand, because no tape recorders. But when he met various persons, there's a whole book of his conversations with different, dignitaries and British government officials and so forth. Very, very interesting how Prabhupada preached to them. So, what we're going to do, as I mentioned in the beginning of the class, I just kind of realized it yesterday. As I started to read the not the introduction, but the beginning of the book, and the various Mangala Charanas of the different acharyas, like Sridhar Swami, Jiva Goswami, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So the first verse of this chapter 1, they're calling it. But actually it's the 29th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here, the title is Sri Krishna and the Gopis Meet for the Rasa Dance. That's the title. So what did Srila Prabhupada title this chapter in his Krishna book? What I did was I pulled out the Krishna book and I began to read it. And you know what? After I had already read quite a number of pages of the different commentaries on this first verse, it's quite extensive. Okay, then we finally come to verse 2, and then there's like that, okay? So, but I decided, let me read Prabhupada's Krishna book and see, because I always remember that Prabhupada's Krishna book was so sweet. Right? So I began to read Prabhupada's Krishna book as like being a very brief and concise introduction to the entire Ras Panchadhyaya. And I read. And I realized, wow, I can read the whole Ras Panchadhyaya pretty much in one day by just reading the 5 chapters of Prabhupada's Krishna book. So I decided that I should read that to prepare myself for diving into all the very, very intricate, descriptions of the acharyas and all of that. But let me get the overview. So you know what it's kind of like? I mean, in one sense, the way I see it, it's kind of like for example, when we see that our acharyas, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he wanted to prepare the readers for reading Ujjvala Nilamani. So he broke down the entire book. We have that small book by Gurudev, Ujjvala Nilamani Kiran, which gives you familiarity with each and every chapter and the main topics of those chapters, and it goes into it to some extent, But I tell you, Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, it's just amazing. It's just so sweet. It's so simple and sweet. But if you read that, then you understand what you're about to read in Krishna's Rasa Dance. So I kept on reading it, and I finished that first chapter, which Prabhupada gave it the title Introduction to the Rasa Dance. That's his title for that chapter. Whereas this is Krishna and the Gopis Meet for the Rasa Dance. But Srila Prabhupada was actually introducing the whole world to the Rasa Dance of Krishna, not just scholarly devotees. He was introducing the entire world to Krishna's Ras Leela dance. So just imagine what kind of weight Srila Prabhupada was carrying, this weight of incredible depth, but he made it very simplified and sweet. So I thought it's a good idea, before we dive into this ocean of Ras Panchadhyaya, where basically it's going to take many days to finish even one chapter, let's read the overview of Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book. Would you like to hear that? Is that, I think, yeah. So, in the Veda base, I opened up Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the first chapter is titled The Rasa Dance Introduction. We're going to do for about, 20 minutes, something like that. Okay? So just imagine Srila Prabhupada is sitting in the middle of the night when everybody's sleeping. He gets up at midnight and writes and translates for like 3-4 hours. Then he chants some japa. Then his day begins like that. And he is now presenting the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he's presented 28 chapters of the 10th canto up to this point, which includes lifting of Govardhan Hill, Krishna's childhood and beginning of his youth pastimes, and subduing Kaliya, and killing different demons, and also Krishna stealing the garments of the unmarried gopis. Very significant. And, we've heard from Gurudev in his book, which is taken from his lectures in Badger, which we read last year, or earlier this year, I should say, which is called the Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam. Remember? We read that. Beautiful, amazing lectures of Gurudev. And Srila Gurudev was giving more intricate understanding that the gopis who were able to come to the rasa dance, they were in different categories. But most of those gopis who were able to escape from their homes and run to Krishna when he played his flute, most of them are the expansions of Srimati Radhika's Ladini Shakti potency. Those are the eternal gopis. But there's another category of persons who came from the position of conditioned souls, and there's this category is of those persons who became qualified to take birth in Braj, and now to become qualified to participate with Krishna in his pastimes. So we know that the gopis they were like 10 years old, just at the beginning of their adolescence, and they wanted to perform a yajna to get Krishna as their husband, right? So those gopis, who are they? Who are those individual gopis who became united in this way to perform a 1-month vow, vrata, worshipping goddess Katyayani, who is none other than Yogamaya Devi herself? And what was their objective?
Krishna is their husband.
Krishna should become our husband. And of course, Srila Gurudev explained to us very nicely how they were performing all those austerities at Chirgat. There's 2 Chirgats. One is there in Vrindavan on the Parikrama Marg, and the other one is farther out. That's the Chirgat, where the pastime of Krishna stealing the garments of the gopis. But when we went there for the first time, I was on my first parikrama in 1994. So we were there, and then at the end of the program there then we all went to the Yamuna, which was nearby. And Gurudev also went, and he actually dipped and put on his gamsha, dipped in the Yamuna. And so there was a number of us who were surrounding Gurudev after he came out and he was dressing himself. And I asked him the question, Srila Gurudev, because this is the first time, First time I've gone on Braj Mandala Prikrama, and the first time that I've come to this place, which is called Chirgat. And I'm learning that this is where Krishna stole the gopis' clothes. But up to that point, I had always understood that the place on the Parikrama Marg, where the tree is and people have hung different clothing in the tree and so forth, that's Chirgat. So I asked Srila Gurudev, I said, Gurudev, we know that there's another Chirgat besides this one. So which one is the correct one? He says, both are correct. Previous kalpa. That was his answer. Previous kalpa. That's very significant because Braj never disappears. No matter what devastation comes, the end of the universe, this, that, Braj is eternal. But in Gurudev's explanation, in his Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam, then he goes into much more detail from the Acharya's purports. And he explains that there were groups of gopis. Now, the term yotaki and ayotaki is referring to what? Is referring to some of the gopis who came on their own, like individually. Or sometimes Gurudev says maybe one or two of them together. They're called ayotaki, without a yuta, without a group. The word yuta means group. And yuteshwari means the, Ishwari of the groups, different groups of gopis. So, but the yotaki gopis who came, they were in different categories. What are some of the categories? You remember?
The sages from Dandakaranya.
Sages in the forest of Dandakaranya who saw Lord Ram during his pastimes, and they were attracted to him. And he gave them the benediction. Because, they were chanting the Gopal mantra. Even though it was Treta Yuga, they were chanting Gopal mantra. So they were attracted to Lord Ram in the mood of Madhurya Rasa. But then Lord Ram gave them the benediction. In this incarnation, I cannot exchange with you in that, but in next. So they took birth in Braj. That's one group. Who else? The Golden Sitas. The Golden Sitas were statues which were completely identical to Srimati Sita Devi when she had been banished to the ashram of Valmiki's ashram. And he needed to do yagyas. So his guru told him, you cannot do without your wife. No king can do the yagyas. They have to have their wife seated next to them. That's the Vedic system. But since his wife was not there, then he said, well, how else can I do it? And then, okay, you can make gold, out of gold, a complete spitting image of Sita Devi in golden statue. And they will be then installed and they will come to life. So this went on year after year after year. Another golden Sita, another golden Sita. And these golden Sitas were kept in a room. So exactly how many? Couple thousand, whatever, something like that. They were fully conscious. Those golden Sitas were able to take birth as gopis. What other group?
Personified Veda.
Upanishads. The personified, they're called Upanishadi gopis. And because the Upanishads have searched out the absolute truth, so they realized it's Krishna. We want to be with him. So they also took birth like this. So it's very fascinating, it's very fascinating to study these chapters. I'm looking so much forward to this, but I felt that I need to get the overview and before diving into all the so intricate details of the acharyas. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to hear from Srila Prabhupada's lotus mouth, where he's stating that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Rasa dance took place on the full moon night of the Sharad season. Now there's a very nice time sequence explained here by Srila Prabhupada from the Acharyas. What time? How old was Krishna? Etc. on that full moon night. Now, from the statements of the previous chapters, it appears that the festival of the Govardhan Puja was performed just after the dark moon night of the month of Kartik. Right? Every year, we see that. Amavasya, Deepavali, right? And then thereafter, from the dark moon night, the ceremony of Bratri Dvitiya was performed. Like Yamaraj gave the benediction that brothers and sisters and so forth. So, what happened then, after that Kartik? Then the wrath of Indra was exhibited in the shape of torrents of rain and hailstorms. And Lord Krishna held up Govardhan Hill for 7 days until the 9th day of the moon. Thereafter, on the 10th day, the inhabitants of Vrindavan were talking amongst themselves about what? The wonderful activities of Krishna. You know that? There's a chapter in Prabhupada's Krishna book called Wonderful Krishna. And what are they talking about? This is after the lifting of Govardhan Hill. And that was one of our favorites, because Gurudev liked to see us do a little skit to show that, how the Brijvasi men, the Gopas are telling Nanda Maharaj, Nanda Maharaj, we really, we're really seriously thinking about who is your son, this Krishna, because look what he just did. He just lifted up the mountain for 7 days and like this, And they're saying to him, we really think that either he's maybe directly Bhagavan himself, or at least Bhagavan manifests at the time when he does all these extraordinary activities. What did Nanda Maharaj respond to them? Yeah, he said that. Yes. It is well-known statement that cowherd men, they don't even get their milk teeth manifested in their mouth before they reach the age of 80 years or something like that, Now I'm seeing it, because they don't have the intelligence. So then what did Nanda Maharaj proceed to explain to the cowherd men? You say, you are trying to tell me that I should not reprimand and punish my son when he does naughty things and like this, because he may be Bhagavan. You're trying to tell me that. But I want you to know something. I have seen this boy every single day from the time of his birth. And I want you to know that you say he has the symptoms of Bhagavan, but what I see is that he has the symptoms of a hungry, naughty boy all the time. If he doesn't get his roti and, butter and roti, makan, and mishri. If he doesn't get it, he throws himself on the ground, flailing his arms and legs, that I want my makan, I want my roti, bread and butter. You cowherd men, let me ask you, do you think that is the behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And one thing after another, he kept on pointing out. What happened to the cowherd men when they heard Nanda Maharaj saying all this? They became convinced. They said, oh, of course. Okay, we completely accept what you're saying. We'll not consider him the Supreme Personality of Godhead any further. But anyway, we had that doubt. Thank you for clearing our doubt. So Indra, then this holding up the hill was till the 9th day of the moon. And then on the 10th day after that, then the inhabitants of Vrindavan were talking amongst themselves about the wonderful activities of Krishna. Then came Ekadasi day, the next day. That was observed by Nanda Maharaj. Then on the next day, Dvadashi, what happened to Nanda Maharaj? Nanda Maharaj went to take a bath in the Ganga, and he was arrested by one of the men of Varuna. Then he was released by Lord Krishna. Then Nanda Maharaj, along with the cowherd men, was shown what? By Krishna, the spiritual sky. Where did that take place? Yes, Akrur Ghat. We always hear that it took place there at Akrur Ghat. And Krishna showed all the Brijvasis the spiritual sky. So in this way, the full moon night of the Sharad season came to an end. Right? The full moon night of Ashvin is called the Sharat Purnima. It appears from the statements of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna had to wait another year for such a moon before enjoying the rasa dance with the gopis. So what is that to us that day? It's the first day of Kartik. What? Yes, it's the first day. The day when the Sharat Purnima is the first day of Kartik. It's the disappearance day of Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Yeah?
I just had a question. If you're following that example there, that Govardhan is after the new moon, the second day, and then comes the tree, and then comes the...
No, Govardhan was not after the...
That would be the end of Kartik, according to that example.
No, you're saying that Govardhan hill was during Kartik. Not on that Kartik, where Krishna danced the Ras Leela. Because here's the thing. This Rasa dance description, Ras Panchadhyaya, okay, this is depicting the Rasa dance, which is the first Rasa dance of Krishna, in the autumn season, the Sharat Purnima. But what we heard took place here. Well, let me just finish what he's telling here. So in this way, the full moon night of the Sharat season came to an end. When Krishna lifted Govardhan hill, that was also before that. Now, the full moon night of Ashvin, that's called the Sharat Purnima. It appears from the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna had to wait another year for such a moon before enjoying the rasa dance with the gopis. At the age of 7 years, he lifted Govardhan hill. Therefore, the rasa dance took place during his 8th year. Okay? But what did we also know about extraordinary personalities and how they age?
Precocious.
What?
The word is precocious.
Well, no, but I mean, what is the rate at which do they age at the same rate that ordinary souls do? No, they 1.5 times. So when Krishna is technically 8 years old, he's actually 12, right? He's actually 12 years old, because 1.5, 8 plus 4. And the same with the gopis. So, from the Vedic literature, it appears that when a theatrical actor, when he dances among many dancing girls, then the group dance, it is called a rasa dance. So when Krishna saw the full moon night of the Sharat season, decorated with various seasonal flowers, especially mallika flowers, which are very fragrant, then he remembered the gopis' prayers to goddess Katyayani, wherein they prayed for Krishna to be their husband. And he thought that the full moon night of the Sharat season was just suitable for a nice dance. So their desire to have Krishna as their husband would then be fulfilled. Now the words used in this connection in the Srimad Bhagavatam are Bhagavan Api. This means, Bhagavan Api means that although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus he has no desire that needs to be fulfilled because he is always full with 6 opulences, but he still wanted to enjoy the company of the gopis in the rasa dance. So Bhagavan Api signifies that this dance is not like the ordinary dancing of young boys and young girls. The specific words used in Srimad Bhagavatam are Yoga Mayam Upashrita, which means that this dancing with the gopis, it is on the platform of Yoga Maya, not Mahamaya. The dancing of young boys and girls within the material world is in the kingdom of Mahamaya, or the external energy. The rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis is on the platform of Yogamaya. The difference between the platforms of Yogamaya and Mahamaya is compared in Chaitanya Charitamrita to the difference between gold and iron. Yes. The difference between gold and iron. So from the viewpoint of metallurgy, gold and iron, they're both metals, but the quality is completely different. Similarly, although the rasa dance and Lord Krishna's association with the gopis, it appears like the ordinary mixing of young boys and girls, but the quality is completely different. The difference is appreciated by great Vaishnavas because they can understand the difference between love of Krishna and lust. So on the Mahamaya platform, the dances take place on the basis of sense gratification. You know what that means? Sense gratification. That's Mahamaya. Dancing is nothing but that in the Mahamaya platform. But when Krishna called the gopis by sounding his flute, they very hurriedly rushed toward the spot of the rasa dance with the transcendental desire to do what? To satisfy Krishna. So the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, has explained that lust means sense gratification, and love also means sense gratification, but for Krishna. Now, in other words, when activities are enacted on the platform of personal sense gratification, they are called material activities. So, when activities are enacted on the platform of personal sense gratification, then they are called material activities. But when they are enacted for the satisfaction of Krishna, they are spiritual activities. So on any platform of activities, the principle of sense gratification is there. But on the spiritual platform, sense gratification is for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, when we were new devotees, we read this. And we understood, oh, okay, I understand. We just have to do everything for Krishna. And then it's transcendental. Because on the spiritual platform, sense gratification is for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, whereas on the material platform, it is for the performer. So, for example, on the material platform, when a servant serves a master, the servant would not serve the master if the payment stopped. That means that the servant engages himself in the service of the master just to satisfy his own senses. So on the spiritual platform, however, the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead serves Krishna without payment. And he continues his service in all conditions. That is the difference between Krishna consciousness and material consciousness. So did we get that? We got it. We got it. And we were kind of living it because that was our schedule. But our own interests still kept on being there, not fully, but to some extent. But we were tasting that happiness of serving Krishna's senses. And that's what kept us there. That's what kept us there then. That's what keeps us here now. So, as mentioned above, it appears that Krishna enjoyed the Rasa dance with the gopis when he was 8 years old. And at that time, many of the gopis were married. Because in India, especially in those days, girls were married at a very early age. And there are even many instances of a girl's giving birth to a child at the age of 12. Because what has to take place before a girl can give birth to a child? She has to go through puberty. So, and Prabhupada also told, you remember Prabhupada's explanation? The story of how this is the responsibility of the father, that the father has to get the girl married before puberty. Why? Because when she reaches that point, she's going to go mad with lust. And she'll just, any person that comes along, that's why Western civilization is so degraded. So degraded, but Vedic civilization is perfect. Okay, the girl will know, even from the age of 5 or 7, who her husband will be. So she's not disturbed in her mind. Who's going to be my husband? But in the West, they throw them out onto the sidewalks. Go find someone, like this. So that's why the whole world is just so degraded. Why? Because the whole family system is completely separate from actual dharma. Actual dharma. And people are not being protected. Neither are the males being told that you should be brahmachari. Because this will make your brain very powerful. But if you keep on losing your semen in young age, your brain will become very weak. And your body also. Was anybody taught that in any school in America, Europe, or anywhere else? No. So it's just a degraded civilization which is on the platform of nothing but what? Lust. Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. That's it. So Prabhupada is saying that because of the fact that in India, especially in those days, girls were married at very early age, and there are even many instances of girls giving birth to a child at the age of 12. 12, 13, 14. That happens even nowadays. Illicit. So under the circumstances, all the gopis who wanted to have Krishna as their husband, they were already married. And at the same time, they continued to hope that Krishna would be their husband. Right? So their attitude toward Krishna was that of paramur love. And therefore, the loving affairs of Krishna with the gopis are called what? Parakiya rasa. We didn't hear that term very much, but it's there in Prabhupada's books. Parakiya rasa. The attitude of a married man who desires another wife, or of a wife who desires another husband, that's called parakiya rasa. So actually Krishna, what is he actually? He's actually the husband of everyone, because he's the supreme enjoyer. The gopis wanted Krishna to be their husband, but factually there was no possibility of his marrying all the gopis. But because they had that natural tendency to accept Krishna as their supreme husband, then the relationship between the gopis and Krishna is called parakiya rasa. This Parakya Rasa is ever existent in Goloka, Vrindavan, in the spiritual sky, where there is no possibility of the inebriety which characterizes Parakya Rasa in the material world. Now, in the material world, Parakya Rasa is abominable. The big A word, abominable. In the material world, Parakya Rasa is abominable. Whereas in the spiritual world, it is present in the super excellent relationship of Krishna and the gopis. There are many relationships with Krishna: master, servant, friend, master and servant, friend and friend, parent and son, and lover and beloved. Out of all these rasas, the Parakya Rasa is considered to be the topmost. Now, this material world, it is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. I never knew that before, but we learned it real well, that the material world tricks you. And it appears to be the real thing, but it's not. That's why it is called Maya, not this. So, this material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world, and it is just like the reflection of a tree on the bank of a reservoir of water. The topmost part of the tree is seen as the lowest part. And similarly, Parakya Rasa, when pervertedly reflected in this material world, is most what? Abominable. Everyone say, abominable. Abominable. Say it. Abominable. Abominable. What's the Russian word for that? Huh? Louder, I can't hear you. Ujasni. Ujasni means horrible, right? Ujasni. So it means the same thing as the English word abominable. Ujasni. So the relationship in the material world, pervertedly reflected of the Parakya Rasa, it's most abominable. Therefore, when people imitate the rasa dance of Krishna with the gopis, they simply enjoy what? The perverted, abominable reflection of the transcendental Parakya Rasa. There is no possibility of enjoying this transcendental Parakya Rasa within the material world. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that one should not imitate this Parakya Rasa even in dream or imagination. Those who do so, they drink the most deadly poison. So when Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, desired to enjoy the company of the gopis on that full moon night of the Sharad season, exactly at that very moment, the moon, the lord of the stars, appeared in the sky, displaying its most beautiful features. The full moon night of the Sharad season is the most beautiful night in the year. And then Prabhupada gives an example. In the Indian city of Agra, in Uttar Pradesh province, there is a great monument called Taj Mahal, which is a tomb made of first-class marble stone. During the night of the full moon of the Sharad season, many foreigners go to see the beautiful reflections of the moon on the tomb. Thus, this full moon night is celebrated even today for its beauty. So when the full moon rose in the east, it tinged everything with a reddish color. With the rising of the moon, the whole sky appeared smeared by red kumkum. When a husband is long separated from his wife and he returns home, he decorates the face of his wife with red kumkum. This long-expected moonrise of the Sharad season was thus smearing the eastern sky. The appearance of the moon increased Krishna's desire to dance with the gopis. The forests were filled with fragrant flowers. The atmosphere was cooling and festive. And when Lord Krishna began to blow his flute, the gopis all over Vrindavan became enchanted. Their attraction to the vibration of the flute increased 1,000 times due to the rising full moon, due to the red horizon, the calm and cool atmosphere, and the blossoming flowers. All the gopis were by nature very much attracted to Krishna's beauty. And when they heard the vibration of his flute, they became apparently lustful to satisfy the senses of who? Krishna. So immediately upon hearing the vibration of the flute, they all left their respective engagements, then proceeded to the spot where Krishna was standing. And while they ran very swiftly, their earrings did what? They swang back and forth. They all rushed toward the place known as Vamshivat. Some of them were engaged in milking cows, but they left their milking business half finished. They immediately went to Krishna. One of them had collected milk, put it in a milk pan on the stove to boil. She did not care whether the milk overboiled and spilled. She immediately left to go see Krishna. Some of them were breastfeeding their small babies, and some were engaged in distributing food to the members of their families. But they left all such engagements and immediately rushed toward the spot where Krishna was playing his flute. Some were engaged in serving their husbands, some were themselves engaged in eating. But caring neither to serve their husbands nor to eat, they immediately left. Some of them wanted to decorate their faces with cosmetic ointments and to dress themselves very nicely before going to Krishna. But unfortunately, they could not finish their cosmetic decorations or put on their clothes in the right way because of their anxiety to meet Krishna immediately. Their faces were decorated hurriedly, were haphazardly finished. Some even put the lower part of their clothes on the upper part of their bodies, and the upper part on the lower part. So while all the gopis were hurriedly leaving their respective places, their husbands, their brothers, their fathers, they were all struck with wonder to know where they were going. Being young girls, they were protected either by husbands, elder brothers, or fathers. All their guardians forbade them to go to Krishna, but they disregarded them. When a person becomes attracted by Krishna, and is in full Krishna consciousness, he does not care for any worldly duties, even though very urgent. Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it gives everyone relief from all material activities. And Srila Rupa Goswami has written a very nice verse wherein one gopi advises another gopi, and she says to her, "My dear friend, if you desire to enjoy the company of material society and friendship and love, then please do not go to see that smiling boy Govinda, who is standing on the bank of the Yamuna and playing his flute with his lips brightened by the beams of the full moonlight." Srila Rupa Goswami indirectly instructs that one who has been captivated by the beautiful smiling face of Krishna has lost all attraction for material enjoyments. This is the test of advancement in Krishna consciousness. A person advancing in Krishna consciousness must lose interest in material activities and personal sense gratification. Gaur Premanande. Isn't that wonderful? Prabhupada's Krishna book. So we'll finish here, and we will continue where we left off with this chapter in our next class. Now I want to mention that tomorrow and the following day, Shama Priya, who is from Delhi, she's in the room just across from me in the hall. She's requested that her Guru Maharaj, which is our Bhaktivedanta Ban Maharaj, his appearance day is the day after tomorrow. So she's requested, because this is Ban Maharaj's Bhajan Kutir. And actually I was here last year when she celebrated that. But she wants to decorate and have and observe. So that will be Tomorrow,
And Thursday.
um, tomorrow is Wednesday, the 1st, and then the Thursday is Jagadish Pandit disappearance and Srila Jiva Goswami disappearance on that day. But that's his day. That's his appearance day. So she wants to have a program here. I don't know the timing. Last time it was actually like late afternoon, but I don't know what her plan is. It may be that she's invited some of the local, like brahmacharis and others, to take part in the program. So we'll not be able to have our Thursday class here. So we have what we can possibly do in that regard is we can have the class on Friday.
Or you can go to Sajjana Sevak Ashram.
We can what?
Maybe go to Sajjana Sevak Ashram.
Sajjan Sevak?
Or Madhukar and Subal and...
Oh, is that called Sajjan Sevak Ashram? I didn't know that. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Or Bhaktivedanta group.
This one is more...
A little closer.
Well, I never even thought of that. I never even thought of that. So why don't you ask Madhukar if we can do that on that day, which would be the Thursday. I mean, since we're not going to have it here, we could have it there. And not only that, but we can probably, anyway, we can have it there. We can have the kata there. I think that's a good idea. That's a good idea. And then our normal Saturday class, which would be on January 4th, normal Saturday class, because we've kind of switched it from Sunday to Saturday, right? And like Sukanta Prabhu, you were mentioning in the last day that he welcomes that like once a week, and he'll also even provide prasadam. But that's not really so much required if we go there to Sajjan Sevak Ashram. But even there, he can, if he wants, he can. But we'll still have prasadam prepared here as we do anyway. We'll just come back here after that and take prasadam. That's what we could do. What do you think? Or
It'd be easier for them, I would assume, if they didn't have to,
right, right.
Just use that little area there.
Yeah. We've been there.
They probably want to. I mean, I don't know.
They would probably want to make prasadam and all that, but we don't know how many people are going to show. And they also have their local people, and whether or not they want to get into, because you can't serve prasadam to only a small section. So it might not work so well for them. But to have the kata there, that would be great. And, maybe they can just make one little lassi drink or something like that. Whatever. They could have something. But that's what I wanted to bring to our attention so that we could know that the next class will be on this, that we would normally have on Thursday the 2nd. She'll want to use this room for her Guru Maharaj's appearance day. And so, but that's also the Jiva Goswami's disappearance day and Jagadish Pandit's. So that would be good to go there. That would be a great, yeah. Or the other option of going across Ganga Devi to BA, Bhaktivedanta Ashram. Or what is it called? No, BK, Bhaktivedanta Kunj. Right? That is a possibility. Takes a lot more endeavor.
You also have to give an advance notice.
Right.
And ask whoever is the
Right.
representative
Right. Yeah. But sounds like a much more simple thing. No advance notice required, because, the following week from the 6th to the 12th, we can do whatever we want. And there's a Jagadish, they have, Jagadish Pandit, I didn't realize this. His appearance day and his disappearance day are like 1 week apart. Because this Thursday is Jagadish Pandit's disappearance day, and then the next week, on the Saturday, is Jagadish Pandit's appearance day. So what do you think?
We'll see what he thinks when he gets back to us.
All right. I think that's the solution, and we will conclude it when we hear back from him. Okay. Hari Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Krishna Book Ki Jai, 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Shri Rasa Panchadhyaya Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Brindai Tulsidebai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Nama Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiyo Ki Jai. Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki